Good afternoon, teacher. Today I'm going to present my project about is Africa a failed continent? Several African empires and city-states did arise after about the 16th century. For example, the Mali Empire or the Maui Empire. Uh, they were all they all had their specific rivers, and however these and others were isolated to relatively small regional blocks, these empires. And although the Mali cultures that did emerge across the continent may have been politically sophisticated, the physical landscape remained a barrier to a technological development. By the time the outside world arrived in force, most had yet to develop writing, paper, gunpowder, or the wheel. Unlike Europe or North America, where the jagged coastlines give rise to deep natural harbors, much of the African coastline is totally smooth, and once they did make land, they struggled to penetrate any farther inland and than roughly 100 miles. So the coast is fringed also with coral reefs. It's full of it, and also of sandbars, mangrove swamps, and lagoons that also block the passage to the interior of the continent. Uh, Natural resources like oil and gas form from organic material that are accumulated on the continental shelf. In fact, fish caught in the continent are caught in the continental shelf from the backbone of the fisheries industry uh, all over the world. The absence of any majority continental shelf in Africa limits the development of fishing grounds and the opportunities of exploring for major petroleum sources of the coast. This causing that other countries don't invest in the continent. Unlike Europe, which has, for example, the Danube River and the Rhine, the continent of Africa has great rivers. For example, the Niger, the Congo, and the Zambezi, but they don't connect, and that this connection has a human factor. For example, the mighty river of Zambezi may be the fourth longest African river. That is, for example, 1,700 miles of longitude, and maybe a stunning tourist attraction because of its white water rapids and the Victoria Falls. But as a trade route, it's not usable. They can't use it because it's impossible. And part of it are navigable only by shallow boats. That means that these parts don't connect and limits the transportation of cargo. The sub-Saharan economy of Africa is now on a verge of a rising from what it was a few years ago. Today, the average income in the region is equal to the average Western European living in the 900s. That is roughly 4,000 per year. But by 2030, based on current growth trends, it can be expected that the income in sub-Saharan Africa will be equal to the average of Western European in the 1934. So it will advance 34 years of advantage. That will be 5,000 per year. It's not much, but the fact that the sub-Saharan Africa will likely achieve the same income growth over a 10-year period as the Western Europe did over 34 years is very important and remarkable. The good news is that due to the creation of a new continent-wide free trade deal, it seems that the economic liberalization policies that have underpinned much of Africa growth under has a lot of influence, a lot of power during the Africa uh, economy crisis, for example, are starting to be liberal and open to other countries. So the newly minted free trade area will immediately abolish 90% of tariffs that are because of the transportation and are on goods traded between member states, and by the end of 2030, a further 7% of tariffs that remain on sensitive products will be removed. So more countries will invest in that part of Africa. And throughout 2020, the sub-Saharan Africa is likely to continue to be one of the world's fastest growing regions in the whole continent and the world. Average incomes will rise by a lot. Life expectancy will be a lot higher, and the infant mortality rates will decrease by also a lot. But this will all be by the introduction of the AFCFTA that will be later this year. And the speed of progress might even increase in the following years. So with this, we can see that the continent of Africa, in the past, a long time ago, where the policies were very in small groups of people, small blocks, not open to other countries, it might look like it was a failed continent, but now we can see that that's not the case. The development of the whole continent is on a big rise only since the last few years and the following years that will come. But now that they are open to negotiations with other countries and opening their barriers, that is changing totally for the better. So that's it, teacher. Thank you.